there. My name is Heather Feather. I am the owner of Rare Bird Medicine, and today's topic is holy shadow. What do we do with these holy sacred shadows, inner and outer, that embrace our world? I want to speak about this macrocosmically, microcosmically, psychologically, and just kind of dig in and take a look at shadow and shadow integration and what does all that mean? When I think of shadow, when I think of a word, I think my neural network wires and fires for all associations with that word. So I think of shadow, inky blackness, the darkness, that which is unseen. I think of the unknown. I think that in the same way that we could call light an equivalent to truth, because when we illuminate, we can see the full picture. We might be able to highlight the truth in a circumstance that we didn't previously see. Shadow could be relegated to the concept of unknown, that which is in the shade or that which is hidden or in the darkness. We don't know, I don't know about this. What is this? I can't see it. And so in that regard, from a psychological standpoint, Carl Jung would say the shadow are the non-integrated aspects of self, that the self is in denial of their existence. There are shadowy aspects to our being. There is that which we keep kind of hidden within the vessel, and perhaps others get to witness it and we don't see it. There's that which we don't know. There's, that which we may know that we don't know. There's much that we don't see in the complexity of what it is to be a human being. And so from a Jungian perspective, shadow is the aspects of self that the self is in denial of, and it suppresses and does not acknowledge and therefore integrate to experience a healthy psychological profile or an integrated self or a holistic self, because every being has shadow and light to offer. They have truth and unknown, what is this type of behavior to offer? All of us do it, you know what I mean? So we can have compassion when others do it if we but choose to offer what we'd like to receive when we're being a little unknown, unpredictable, or somebody could throw shade on the way we're being. Maybe we not then choose to throw shade on others because it can be unpleasant. But the thing I want to discuss is I do believe that, macrocosmically or outwardly, there is an expression of that which is more microcosmically, inwardly present within the self. And so I think that the shadow within the self, the psychological component that doesn't necessarily always get integrated with each being, Feather has aspects of the self that are potentially not integrated aspects, faces of the self she hasn't seen, the 10,000 faces of self that one might see. And in that regard, my life will also reflect that shadow, and so the outer becomes a playground for me to witness what needs integration inwardly. And so I often perceive as our trials, tribulations, traumas, difficulties, and things of this nature that we experience in an outward way based on engagement with others in the field is kind of like a play or more macrocosmic expression of something inwardly that does need attention in order for integration, shadow integration, to occur. It's important to know because many two-leggeds and many experiences I've had with two-leggeds operate from a space of, if I have shadow, if I have shade, if I have unknown XYZ weird behavior, that's bad. It makes me bad. And so that's part of why the ego has a difficult time acknowledging it. And what the ego denies, it tends to project. And so it'll tell the world is like this, I'm not like this, blah, 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 blah. We could say, the world is a bully, I'm not a bully, but then you may have a severe inner bully that is constantly self-flagellating. To the Toltec, there are two parasites. One parasite is playing the role of victim, not recognizing your sovereign, autonomous, creative capacity as you collapse waves of probability into particles with your consciousness. And the other parasite that can be present is called the judge. And that judge can presence itself in an individual like a bully. It can really self-flagellate. Heather Feather has a history of demanding excellence and demanding, perfectionistic tendencies would be the feedback I would get. And it's not necessarily perfectionism that I was necessarily aiming for, but excellence is always the mark that I'm trying to shoot for. And part of excellence is to understand that, perfection can often be the enemy of the good as we try to have things just be so. And so as I've aged, my life has come to be more about softening and allowing me to have shadow, Heather, even though she holds the intent to be unconditional love in form every day, does not have to express unconditional love in form with every breath. And although I don't allow myself to wish ill on others or do what I would call a negative prayer or, like counter to the truth of what prayer is intended for, I do not ever, no matter what a two-legged hands me, I do not wish ill. I pray that the path to love get easier. It's important for me to give myself that same grace. May the path to love be easier for Heather Feather as she experiences her own shade, as she experiences that which she has suppressed within the self. Shadow is a beautiful thing. It is a holy and sacred thing, and it's present in our paradigm and reflected macrocosmically and microcosmically in a few different ways. The shadow is present as a seed will gestate in the inky blackness, the darkness, the shade of the soil. A seed will gestate, an embryo will gestate in the blackness of a body. And so that which bears fruit, that which blooms forth, that which may become the truth of what is witnessed in the beingness of something in the light of day, has a period in which it rests in the shade, and it rests in the unknown, it rests in the unformed, it rests in pure possibility, it rests in potentiality. We can see that very microcosmically in the quantum realm, where you have these waves of probability that collapse into these particles based on consciousness. And so we have a lot of two-leggeds and a lot of consciousness present, believing that the earth is degraded, believing that life, the struggle is real, believing that life is hard, believing that we'll never have peace on earth. And it is possible that our consciousness is far weightier and far more profound than we have ever guessed. Also, it's possible that both holy light and holy shadow can bless. They can be a gift. They can be an offering. We are in a dualistic realm. So it's like the moon has always chased the sun. The sun, Apollo, Inti, Surya, Helios, Lug, Sol, Ra. It's gone by many names and has been praised because it photosynthesizes our food and gives us nutrients on which to graze. It gives us the grace of light and the grace of warmth. And so many entities, even though the sun may be a medium-sized star, a gaseous ball, have believed also that it is a spirit and that it is an energy, and it's possible in a dualistic realm it is two things. But we also have the shadow side of Diana, of Hecate, of the Morrigan, of Lord Shiva and Kali Durga. We have this component of destruction cycles and darkness and breaking apart, and that which tears at our heart and tears at our heartstrings. We have that which breaks us down, that which is called trauma, that which is called suffering, that which is called conflict, that which is called no thanks for a lot of people, and it's viable that just because we can label something bad doesn't mean that it's bad. It's possible that every trial, every tribulation, every trauma, every escalated situation you've ever found yourself in has been a gift because it's offered you, first of all, the opportunity to discern what you want to move towards, to discern what you want to move away from, to awaken to how you want to walk in your life. It's given you potentially the opportunity to express and share the content of your character. It is in our very trying situations. It is in a conflict-based hour. It is when someone is throwing shade on your light, and the luminescence and the brilliance of your light will often cause a yin-yang scenario to activate in the field, because this is a dichotomy. It is a polarized realm. We do have duality, up, down, good, bad, right, wrong, where equal shade can magnetize to the light like a moth to a flame. And that shade, somebody throwing shade on you, somebody creating challenge, trial, and tribulation for you, is always giving you opportunity to express the content of your character and the content of your evolution. If you're not able to forgive, it is because you continue to judge what another has done. And forgiveness is the only bridge I know of and the quickest route to restore oneself to the sanity of one's innate native frequency, which I believe to be love. And so long as we continue to sit on our high horse and judge others from that degree, do we continue to sit in our own shade and suck on our own poisons and not find the antidote in the light that's available in the moment to restore ourselves, that when they know better, they'll do better. And just because they're full of poison doesn't mean I have to sip on it for the rest of the day, right? And so I I don't understand what they did. I don't feel like I would do that, but I don't need to constantly chew in the shadows on the shadowy content I've been handed. I can ask, what is the gift? What did I learn? Do I want to go towards that? Do I want to go away from that? How do I discern now based on this opportunity and this grace and this gift called shadow? So we can integrate our outer experiences by considering the traumas, the trials, the tribulations, the challenges, even the potential consistent patterns. I do not believe we are like on a rat wheel just circling around in the same lesson. I think it is a spiral, but it spirals out and up, and we get larger and broader perspective on karmic patterns and tendencies so that we are given more rampant opportunity to evolve. And sometimes you're a being that really wanted to learn forgiveness. So you may have more and more people betray you, and it may feel like you're going nowhere, but if you look at it, you'll find where you were at 20 is not where you were at 30, is not where you were at 40, and not where you are, I'm nearly 50. So you'll go, oh yeah, I don't hold that in the same way. Death does not have the same weight for me today that it had when I was closer to having come over from the grave. As a child, it was very painful. In my 20s, I have craved family and home. I've craved partnership, family, child, home, because that was taken from me before I even hit 25. My mom and dad were both dead. And now at 49, I'm actually kind of like, do I want a relationship? I really, sex is great and all. And it also can include a lot of interaction with people that may be in shadowy states of not having integrated that which they're unwilling to face in their own egos. I find that the ego has a tendency to want to correct and police and judge the world and tell the world this parasitic behavior of policing the world, be more evolved. And this comes back always to this teaching where I would say, let's deal with the plank in our own eye before we fiddle with a splinter in another. We don't understand the context as to why another being is handing us a paltry sum, but we are being given opportunity to express who we will be in those hours. We can see that shade, and I always thought like blue and green and brown are God's favorite colors because there's so many skin tones that are variations of brown. There are animals that are brown. The bark is brown. The dirt is brown. There's so much brown on the earth. We have the sky, and we have the oceans and the lakes and the rivers and the streams that are blue. We have all this plant life that's so luscious and green too. And I always assume those are the favorite colors, but it's possible that it's actually shade. It's actually blackness. It's actually the inky blackness. If we think of our black holes, if we think of dark matter, macrocosmically comprising 27% of our universe, 73% of our universe being dark energy, only 5% of everything I just said is what is observable. You, everything you've ever seen in your life, our solar system, galaxies, and the rest is 27% dark matter, and we have this 73% push of dark energy. And so you had cosmic inflation with the Big Bang, and everything exploded and boom, went forth. And we assume because of gravity, it would eventually slow down. But dark energy is actually speeding it up. And we're just expanding out into the darkness, into the inky blackness. There's blackness in the ocean. There's blackness in the space. There's blackness in the soil. There's blackness in a womb. And all of those things aid for the unknown to gestate in order to become what it may be. We swim in a sea of possibility, waves of probability that collapse into particles based on the conscious observer that is present. And with this sea, how could we create anything that meant anything without holy shadow and holy light? Even an artist will tell you, my dear friend Lisa Rick taught me, art requires shadow and light, Heather. If the room was all light, you wouldn't see me. If it was all blackness, you wouldn't see me. And it is through the light and through the darkness, communion, coming into union together, just like the great prophecies of the condor and the eagle, North and South America, coming together. It is people coming together. It is a blending together in all expressions of the component of shadow and the component of light. It's bringing these periods where we gestate, we receive, we be quiet, we be still, we don't express, and we also bloom forth and shine light on the content of what we've chosen to be, and may we be blessed. You can always go to 𝐟𝐵IRDmedicine.com and click on the classes link. There is a class that will be coming up this summer, and we will be teaching the foundation of shamanism. The second week will be Holy Shadow. So we'll talk about trauma reframe, shadow integration. How do we do this shadow work? You can always subscribe on YouTube too. I'm Lynn.